So everyone's talking about AI writing, right? It feels like it just popped up out of nowhere. But what if I told you the real story? The story of the computer as an author is actually way older and honestly a lot weirder than you probably imagine. It's a 70-year saga, and we're going to break it down.
Okay, when you hear AI writing, what comes to mind? Probably stuff like efficiency, work emails, maybe even code. But its story actually begins somewhere totally different. We're talking about uncanny poetry and even love letters? Yeah, you heard that right. That's the rabbit hole we're diving down today.
So let's get into it. We're talking about a journey that stretches across a full 70 years. It starts with these surprisingly playful, almost whimsical first attempts at computer text, and it brings us all the way to these super powerful large language models, LLMs, that we're all using now. Wow. Okay, this timeline really puts it all in perspective. Get this. It all kicks off in 1953, and not with some boring business program, but with a love letter generator. How cool is that? Then through the 60s, you've got these pioneers just experimenting, making weird, uncanny sentences and strange poems. And now? Well, now we're using these incredibly advanced LLMs to write our work reports. It's such a huge shift, right? So, what happened? Why the change? And that question, well, it gets us right to the heart of the matter. The biggest difference between then and now isn't really about the tech itself. It's about the why, the intent behind it all. We've basically gone from being explorers to being automators.
Yeah, this lays it out perfectly. Back in the day, these folks were explorers. They wanted to push the boundaries of literature, to see what would happen if you let a machine play with language. They wanted to make something weird, something provocative. But today, we're mostly in the automator camp. The main goal is to make our lives easier, right? To summarize a long article, draft an email, basically make human communication more efficient. It's a classic case of art versus utility.
Okay, just listen to this. This is actual output from a machine in 1959. A church is strong or not. Every village is far. A tower is angry. It makes sense grammatically, but it's so beautifully strange, right? It doesn't sound like a person. It has this kind of alien logic to it. And that's a perfect example of that explorer mindset. The point wasn't to copy a human. It was to see what the machine itself had to say. And then there's today. Think about it. We take that strange, angry tower and we contrast it with drafting a polite follow-up email or summarizing a boring business report. It's all about helping us deal with bureaucracy, saving us some time. The goal went from creating something totally uncanny to just creating something conventional but doing it faster. So what happened under the hood to cause this massive change? Well, it really comes down to the technology. We're talking about a move from following strict rules to playing the odds with probabilities. Think of the early systems like a really complex Mad Libs. A programmer literally wrote out grammatical rules and templates, like put an adjective here, a noun there. You could almost see the seams in the text it produced. I mean, it could still be clever, for sure, but it was always trapped inside the box of rules that a human built for it. Modern LLMs? They threw that rulebook out the window. They don't have a list of grammar rules. Instead, they've ingested a mind-boggling amount of text, like a huge chunk of the internet, and they just predict. They make a statistical guess about which word is most likely to come next. And that's the secret sauce. That's why their writing feels so natural, so human. It's not about being programmed. It's about playing the percentages. So you change the technology, you change the intent, and what do you get? A totally different kind of output. We literally went from creating unique pieces of art to mass-producing content on an industrial scale. And look at this. This is a perfect example. Early computer-generated books were sometimes released in series, like this one called hard copy. And they weren't just seen as text files. They were framed as primary artworks. People treated them like unique artists' books, something to be really looked at and thought about. It was all about the art piece itself, not what it could do for you. And this quote just nails it. The early artist programmers, they had no interest in making something that could pass for a human. In fact, it was the opposite. That distinctive voice of the system, that weird, not quite human quality, that was the art. That was the whole point. Okay, so you've got that idea in your head, the distinctive voice. Now, let's flip to today. We've got companies using automation to pump out and sell literally tens of thousands of books. A lot of them are just summaries of data that's already out there. It's the same fundamental idea, generating text, but the goal couldn't be more different. We've gone from a unique voice to an almost unimaginable scale of production. Okay, so after this 70-year trip from the art studio to the boardroom, where are we now? Is it all just about efficiency? Well, not so fast. The story's not over, and some people think we can bring back that original exploratory spirit. I mean, maybe the biggest game changer here is just access. Think about it. Back then, you had to be a researcher or an artist with serious programming skills and access to a giant, expensive machine. It was a very small club. But now, it's on your phone. It's everywhere. Literally anyone can generate text for anything, from a poem to their homework. That power is now in all of our hands. And that democratization, that universal access, leads to a really interesting tension. You've got these mega corporations that are, trying to shape these tools for their own commercial goals. But then you have this other idea, a call to action from poets and artists to reclaim automated writing, to use it for art, for exploration, and to basically reinvent what computing can be. So that's what I want to leave you with. As these AI tools become the perfect personal assistant, right? As they get better and better at handling all our boring bureaucratic tasks, are we accidentally losing something? Are we losing the unconventional artist that lives inside the machine? In our search for the perfect, most helpful tool, are we maybe forgetting about that weird, provocative, creative spark that kicked this whole thing off 70 years ago?